What's up everybody, my name is Kason and welcome back to another War of the Visions Final Fantasy Brave Exvius video. I am super psyched to do this video today because it is on a brand new lightning unit that just came out on JP. It is going to be my first ever preview video. I've never done a video on a unit that hasn't been released yet, and obviously Summer Helena is the perfect unit to start this type of thing on. So the first thing I want to do is go through the character breakdown where I talk about her stats, resistances, and just a couple strengths that I think she has. I want to go over her skills, talk about which ones I think are interesting, which skills I don't think are so interesting. I'm just going to go through her entire kit so that you guys can see that. I'm also going to go over an overview of a new Esper VC combo that just came out on JP. I'm not entirely sure that we are going to get that anytime soon. We'll take a look. I'm also not even sure that we're going to get Summer Helena anytime soon, but we're still going to analyze it regardless. I'm also going to go through a sample build that I made for her, and at the end I'm going to do some damage calculations on WoTV Calc, also in comparison with Ibara, who is another lightning mage out there, just so you guys can get a rough idea of what kind of damage this character is going to be dealing. And then at the very end I'm going to wrap everything up with just my general thoughts on the unit, whether I think she will be strong, whether I'm going to pull for her or not, all of those types of things. So without further ado, let's get into this video. So really the only slide that I created for you guys today is the character breakdown slide, and I just wanted to kind of summarize all of her strengths, her stats, resistances, all that in one spot. In terms of the stats here, you're going to see that her magic and agility are very respectable. She has an okay HP stat, dexterity is also okay, and luck is a little below average. You're going to see later in the video that these dexterity and luck stats really don't matter all that much, and that these three stats here are really the only ones that you want to focus on. In terms of base stats, I did want to add these over to the side. This is normally not on my character breakdown screen, but this is something that I think is important to show you guys, especially if you're trying to do some math in terms of what do you gain on a certain passive. If you guys don't know, for example, things on your equipment or your trust stone passives, if you have something that says HP up 10%, that is based off of your base stats. So what happens is you have a trust stone passive of 10% HP, that means you take 10% of this. So she would essentially gain 295 HP with that passive. Same goes for her magic and dex, all that kind of stuff. So if you were doing like 20% magic, it would be roughly 68 or 69 magic on top of it. She has a standard move 3, jump 1. She is cost 100. She wears hat and cloth. Coming over to her master ability here, she has the standard lightning party master ability for all UR lightning units. Has 20 magic attack resist penetration right on top, which is really nice. 10% magic is very good as well. And if we come into her resists, nothing crazy here with defense and spirit. She has 4 starting defense, so better than 0 at least, but not a whole lot to write home about. Her resistances, though, I really like. She has 10 to both slash and magic. She has 15% to missile. Those are the 3 most common types of damage in the game, so I like having positives to all 3 of those. And pierce is 0, so it's at least not a negative. By far, the least common damage type in the game is strike. She is negative 10% to that, but it's really not the end of the world considering her other resistances are pretty good. Her status resistances, though, in my opinion, do leave some to be desired. She has the 50% to slow and stun. I think those status effects that really are not super common in PvP right now. She has 10% to immobilize, so that's nice. I do see immobilize a little bit, so having a little bit of resistance to that is good, but nothing great. In terms of her job, she has her own unique job, which I don't know what it's going to be named in English or global, so I'm not going to say that yet. She's paladin and white mage sub jobs. And in terms of her strength, you're going to see in her kit, she has multiple guaranteed hit attacks, which is really nice for fighting evasion enemies. She is fast with a high magic stat, so that's just talking about her stats, that's just a general good thing for her. And you're going to see later her limit break is fantastic. Okay, so I normally have a lot more slides for you guys, but to be honest, in this video, I really want to come out to WoTV Calc and break down every single thing in her kit. And I have a lot of random thoughts about this and just want to have some random discussion during the video here. And I think this is just a better way to do it for this video specifically. First thing I want to show real quick that I didn't go over is her TMR. It is an accessory, 238 HP, 65 magic, 8 spirit, 8 crit rate. Nothing really to write home about here. It doesn't have any sort of agility or anything like that. HP stat is pretty low. And in terms of the skill, it is an AoE skill. It upgrades your human killer by 25 for magic attacks. It's okay. It's really nothing crazy. I think the best part about this TMR is that it has 2 casts, which is nice, but to be honest, I just don't really love this TMR. If you're thinking about pulling this unit for the TMR alone, do not do that. It is not worth it whatsoever. So coming over to the skills section here, let's go through her support skills first. First thing I want to note, this passive right here is from her White Mage subjob, March of the Saints. This, as of right now, on global, does not have a boost to magic for 24%. This is something that eventually happens down the road. Gumi has been upgrading jobs, like older job skills and things like that. So White Mage, this is one of them that they received. So as of right now, if this unit comes out in the next week or two on global, this will not have 24% magic. So just want to let you guys know, you're pretty much always going to ignore this passive. This top one is interesting. This is from her own job here. It is 60% magic and decreasing HP 5%. I like part of this. I mean, 60% magic is great, but decreasing your HP kind of sucks, and it doesn't feel like a wonderful trade-off here, especially when you come down here and notice that her other two passives don't have any sort of penetration. So we said before she has 20 magic attack pen in her master ability, but she has no spirit pen innately at all. You're going to see here she has none. So without any sort of equipment, VCs or anything like that, she has 20 magic pen and that's it. For an attacker nowadays, especially a 100 cost unit, that is not a lot. So later in this video, we're going to have to see if we can mitigate that and see if we can get enough spirit pen or magic pen on her to kind of overcome those things. These other two passives that she has down here, I like this one a lot. 12% agility is really, really nice, and 12 spirit is another nice thing to add on. And this is the paladin one, 12 defense and 12% HP, Holy Knight's protection. I think this is also solid. Just all really depends on who you're going against. If you're going against a more physical team, you might want this, or you just find yourself dying too easily, you could do this. I've heard some people say that this is like the absolute 100% you always run this on her. I'm going to show you some damage calculations later in the video and talk about the fact that this may not be as surefire of a run as you think, or at least that I think. But anyway, we will go over that later in the video. Talking about her counters, another thing that's pretty underwhelming, to be honest. This White Mage one basically just gives her regen. It's really not great. I don't love it. This one is okay. This 50% damage, this is like a typeless attack based off her magic stat. So this is not really going to be penetrated very much. And it's probably going to do pretty darn good damage. Like, honestly, it's going to hit fairly well, but it's only a 20% chance to counter, which isn't great. And it's also after the fact that she takes damage. So not my favorite thing in the world. There's not a whole lot here. Like, it's okay, but I don't love it. I think, especially if you're going against physical teams, you're probably going to want to run something like this. This has a 20% chance to reduce your physical damage taken by 45%. So I would think this is probably my favorite one, is the Paladin one, but I could see a case definitely for her own main job one. Coming down, her basic attack is a regular magic attack, so that's nice. It's not a physical damage, so she will do damage even if she's out of AP, which is good. And then in terms of her main job, coming down here, and I apologize for these names, I don't know what any of them mean, but it is what it is. So her first most basic skill has 4 range and a range height of 1. This is fairly normal in terms of most units and things like that. You're going to notice right away that she does not have cast time on any of her main job, which is fantastic. This is very similar to Ibara in that sense, that you don't have to worry at all about casting time, so that's really, really great. I like this skill as a whole in terms of it being her most basic ability. Restores CT by 250, and realistically, if you're ever using this ability, it's probably because the unit that they're trying to attack is very, very low. Helena is going to use her least AP ability to try and finish off a target. So if you're finishing off a target, you don't need a lot of other things on this ability, and restoring her own CT is really nice because this could effectively get her turn faster. So I actually love this as a kind of normal, just whatever skill. Because I find a lot of, like, resistances down or things like that on a basic skill sometimes isn't as useful because they're typically going to use their better skills unless the unit's almost dead. So I actually really, really like this for the AP cost. This skill right here, restore HP 210 and restore TP 15%. In terms of guild battles, if you are running like 2 battles back to back, I could see this being useful. Otherwise, I can't imagine that she uses this very often in like the middle of a fight. You're gonna see later that this TP % restore actually could be really functional on her. Most people don't care about TP, but she does have something in her kit where this actually will help her. It has 3 uses. Nothing insane, but this honestly will probably heal her to full. Like her magic stat's going to be so high that 210 modifier is going to heal really, really hard. So in a guild battle where you battle 2 times in a row could be really nice. It could heal herself to full right at the start of battle too. This skill, so let's just go to the upgraded version right away. So this is one of her guaranteed hits. So this is a single target ability, range of 4, again, range height of 1. So the exact range as her first skill. So you're going to see that a lot of her ranges have things in common, very similar to each other. 200% damage modifier is very, very respectable. It is a 100% hit chance and decreases evasion by 30. So this is an absolute just evasion hunting move. Not only can she not miss with it, and it's a 200% mod, which is really, really nice, but then she decreases the evasion rate after she hits. So she makes it even more likely for your teammates to hit them. This is very nice just as an evasion hunting thing. Otherwise, just kind of whatever, 200% mod, single target ability is solid, but nothing insane otherwise. This is her main buff, and I think this is something that you probably want to get off the vast majority of times because it's going to be a pretty monumental damage increase. So what this does, and you're going to see, it has a nice little area in terms of buffing. It has AoE height 1, which is nice. So if somebody is 1 step above or below her, it will affect them. And it's not just the little cross pattern, it's a full cube pattern, which is very, very good for hitting other people with your buff. So as long as you want to set her up in terms of getting her to the party soon, this is the buff that you want to leave on. This thing right here, 40% attack and magic to allies, that's pretty self-explanatory, but this right here isn't very clear. And from what I've seen in terms of damage, what this effectively is when she uses this buff, it costs 32 TP, she's going to use this buff. Any skill that she damages an enemy with from now on, or for those 3 turns or whatever, is not only going to cost AP, but it'll also cost half of the amount of AP it costs as TP. So for example, if you use a skill that costs 30 AP, it will now cost 30 AP and 15 TP. What it will do is it will effectively add a damage modifier of 50, which is no joke. Like 50 damage modifier is pretty crazy. For comparison, Ibara's Fall of Night passive that she uses gives her 40 magic attack penetration, which is really nice. Then it gives her 25 human killer and 25 magic attacks. So very specifically, if Ibara is using magic attacks, that's 50 modifier. So for people who rave about that skill, it's the same amount of modifier. The only difference is this gives attack and magic also, but it doesn't give the penetration. So if you're looking for that penetration, Ibara's buff is definitely better. But this is very, very solid. I think it's a respectable buff. The very next one here, we'll ignore this line because it upgrades. This is a pretty large AoE. It's the same size AoE as Ibara's Wailing Storm, as Skahal's Thundaga Disposer, as some of Black Rose Helena's skills. It's this generic kind of, 5 across little kind of grid area. The only thing that I will note here that's kind of underwhelming is its range height 1, AoE height 1. A lot of skills such as Ibara's Wailing Storm or Skull's Thundaga Disposer are range height 2 with AoE height 1. So she's not going to be quite as effective in terms of hitting people on different height ranges. And that is something that's very consistent in her kit. And it is something without actually testing her in duels or guild battles or things like that. I can't tell whether that will be a huge issue or not, but I could see that being a problem in very specific maps, not being able to hit, the right people and stuff like that. So range height's not great, but otherwise a big AoE. It dispels courage, which is fantastic. To my knowledge, the courage dispel happens after the damage. I'm not 100% sure on that, but from what I was hearing, the courage dispel happens after the damage goes off, which is 165 modifier, decent modifier. Also has a 25% chance to stop the target. So not only is this ability going to do really respectable damage on 165 mod, it will dispel courage and it has a chance to stop. So this skill is definitely bread and butter for her. It's very, very good. And her other bread and butter skill for sure is the only one that she has that's non-reflectable. So this is important in terms of going up against like a Celis team or something like that. If you're going up against water, you may want to turn off some of these other abilities and just leave this one on. It does have 3 uses, so you could use it a few times. But this is another 100% hit move. And to use as a comparison, this is the same range height, AoE height 1, same range in general as Cloud's triple slash. So if you know how that works against evasion units in terms of where he needs to get that move off, this is essentially the exact same thing. It's not a triple hit, it's just 1 hit, but it is 100% chance to hit, and she absorbs 30% of the damage done. there is a good chance if she gets 2 to 3 people in this, she could legitimately heal the full. Like if she hits 3 different people for 5 or 6k, which I think is totally possible if they were all clumped up, well, now she's healing for like 5,000, 6,000. That's without any sort of healing power up. So it is very possible that she could heal close to full as long as she's not sitting at like 1 health. So I think this is a very respectable skill as well. Now, to be completely honest, I think the buck kind of stops there. I don't have a ton else in this kit that I love. This skill is really interesting at first, and maybe it will be more useful than I think. It gives you 40% magic pen for 3 turns and 20 lightning resist pen for 3 turns. This is very interesting because this is the first source of elemental penetration that I know of in the game. There are elemental breaks, but I don't know of any sort of elemental penetration. So this is probably the first start of the next thing that we're going to see in this game. So even though I don't think it's incredible for her right here, I think this is just getting started in terms of what units will start to have in this game in terms of elemental penetration. For 3 turns and 40 magic attack pen. I'm big on penetration in this game, so like theoretically in my head, like, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It could take her from probably having, I would say 30 magic attack pen in her kit to 70, so it's going to make her much harder to tank. But I think there's another buff in her kit that you're going to probably prefer to have on turn 2 than this one. So this skill, 165% mod, damage magic resist decrease. It's fine, but it's not a huge range. It's pretty short. And at 24 AP, most of her other skills are right around 28 or 30, and they're just better. So I can't imagine a situation where you're probably going to use this. White Mage, I'm not going to go through every skill here. She has Curata, she has Curaga, Shell, Protect, and she has Raise. She does not have Re-Raise or Full Life. So those are mainly the things that you need to know about her White Mage. And in terms of Paladin, all that you need to know really is she has Sentinel and she has Courage. And Courage is the other buff that I think personally in most fights you're probably going to want to turn on her main AoE buff that she has, and then you're probably going to want to run Courage on turn 2. That's just kind of my general thought on it. As of her Limb Burst, I said before that this is really, really good. It has the same issue with the range height 1, AoE height 1, but holy shit, the skill's nuts if it actually hits. It dispels Shell for all targets and decreases AoE resist by 30 before damage, and it's a 200% mod. This ability is going to hit like an absolute truck. Like almost everybody in the game now has some sort of AoE resist at the top level. Like you're looking at probably a minimum of 20, maximum of like 50-ish AoE resist. Being able to drop that by 30 before the damage goes off in a huge AoE, she's going to absolutely crush people with this. Tanks that want to run Shell, like a Charlotte or June maybe having Shell on or something like that, she's going to eat through them with this. I think this is just a really, really fantastic limit break. Now, before I get too far into this, I want to talk just a little bit about my general thoughts about this unit. In my opinion, do I think she's a good unit? Yes, I think she's a very good unit. Do I think she's better than Ibara? No, I really probably don't think so. I think Ibara is just really, really solid as a damage dealer. I think she's probably in most cases going to deal more damage than Helena is. She doesn't bring the status effects that Helena does, and she doesn't have guaranteed hits. So what I've done in this situation is I kind of wanted to highlight what Helena's good at, and that's, I think, evasion hunting for sure. She will do plenty of damage to other characters too. But the nice thing about her, about having guaranteed hits, this is something that's very similar for Cloud compared to a unit like Esther. Cloud has the advantage that with your Trust Stone passives, you are able to build Trust Stone sets such as an AP set or an attack set or something along those lines. And on the defensive set, you could build HP or TP or defense or barrier or any type of those sets work on Cloud. You don't have to build accuracy and luck in case you run into evasion. Now in this game, it all depends on what kind of PvP you're doing. If you are doing some sort of guild battle and you wanted your defense team set up, well, if you have Ibara on a defensive team, you're probably going to run accuracy and luck set just in case an evasion team comes into you or something like that. If you're ever, for example, I like to do Orange A PvP fight tournaments. If I'm ever going into one of those, I'm going to have an accuracy and luck set on Ibara because I can't risk the fact of going into an evasion team and not being able to hit them. That is something that's really, really nice about Helena, is you are able to build either a magic or a speed set on her offensive runes, and on defense you can build HP, defense, or spirit very, very easily. So it helps her bulk up a little bit, helps boost her damage without even having to worry about any of those stats. So scrolling down here, I have a somewhat similar build for these two characters. The main difference being I've built Ibara in a way that I need to have her built so that she can target evasion. So what I've done is I've done these Spirit Pen glasses that give 26 accuracy, also gives her Spirit Pen, which I really, really want. For Helena, I have the gloves, which give 20 Spirit Pen. She has the advantage that she doesn't need to build accuracy. I need some sort of item with accuracy on it for Ibara for her to reliably hit evasion units. On her TMR, as you can see, I've done both luck and accuracy. It won't let me scroll over, but I've done luck and accuracy for the sets and trust stones and things like that. For Helena, I don't need to do that. I've set her magic set and her HP set. So you can see the differences between these builds. Otherwise, I both gave them the survival vest just for a little bit more bulk. And in terms of espers, this is another advantage that Summer Helena gets that Ibara doesn't. She is able to run an esper like Dark Ramuh that just came out on JP, and this esper is insane. You can get things like lightning attack, human killer, 25 of both, so this is 50 modifier on all her damage, and then also an extra 18 slash resist will all fit in that. If I'm playing Ibara and I have to have her accuracy up, I get 22 accuracy effectively on her with these runes right here. 3% strike resist, whatever, a little bit of magic, 25 lightning attack, which is nice, but only 10 magic attack. So I've basically lost 15 modifier because I needed to go for this accuracy and I don't have any slash resist. So that is a couple of things to keep in mind when you're playing somebody like Helena. You kind of have the luxury to build her just for straight damage and straight tank. You don't have to build those accuracy stats. I put the exact same cards on them. I put Ibara and Dark Ramuh on both. If you guys don't know what Dark Ramuh does, it gives 20 Spirit Pen innately to the person who holds it. In the sub slot, this is only going to be 10, but still nice. Gives missile resist and decrease evasion rate. It will give the party magic, slash resist, and earth resist. So this is an incredible VC, very good Esper and all that. What I've done here with her skills is I did not give her 60% magic, so you're going to see what her stats look like without that. I gave her the Holy Knight's protection, and I gave her the one that gives her agility and spirit. And for Ibara, I give the two that I almost run all the time. It is her Prayers of Humankind, the one that gives magic up and different things like that, and also the one that gives her agility and spirit pen. So scrolling down here, let's get about an even point here to look at these stats. With these builds here, you're going to see 9379 HP on Helena, 9258 on Ibara. So very, very similar HP values. 1385 magic on Helena, 1421 on Ibara. Again, very similar magic values. You're going to see an AP. Obviously, Helena has the advantage, but that's not the biggest deal in the world. 103 agility compared to 95. So Helena definitely has the advantage in agility in this sense. And if you look at the defense and spirit, she has 12 more defense and 8 more spirit with this build. That's not even getting to elemental resist, where she has 5 fire, 5 ice, 5 lightning, and then Ibara, so she has 45 water, Ibara has 40 water, and she doesn't have those extra elemental resists from the HP set. Looking at something like slash resist, Helena has 60 slash resist, Ibara only has 27, because Ibara has a negative slash resist to start, and she can't afford to run Dark Ramuh. She has to run regular Ramuh because she needs that accuracy. Again, this is in a situation where you're going blind and you don't know what you have to fight against. If you knew what you were going up against and you could run Dark Ramuh, this wouldn't be as one-sided, obviously. But just to show you some of these resistances and stuff like that, they're pretty comparable other than Slash, which Helena has a huge advantage. 12 lightning attack advantage to Ibara. Magic attack by 10, slight advantage to Ibara. Coming down here, slight crit rate advantage to Helena. Crit damage is the same. Human killer, I actually have 30 on Helena here, where we only have 5 on Ibara. Spirit Pen, Helena has 60 in this build, and Ibara has, I believe, 90. I can't find it. There it is. And 20 AoE resist for Helena, 30 for Ibara. So I know that's a lot to take in, but I guess the point that I wanted to drive home is that even without the 60% magic boost for Helena, if you're trying to just like build her beefy, like 9300 HP, 60 slash resist, still with 1385 magic is nothing to sniff at. And part of the big thing here is she's going to have an ability that modifies her damage quite a bit. So you don't necessarily need to build her magic up as high as it possibly can be. So now let's come down to the very bottom here. So what I've done here is I want to do a bit of a damage comparison for these two units. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here so that we can see all of it. And what I've done is I'm going to leave both of the targets at 70 faith. I think this is a fairly happy medium between units who want 50 faith and units who want 97. I'm going to leave unit and AoE resist at 20 for the damage comparison. I think it's fair that a lot of characters are just going to have 20 AoE resist at a minimum. And I will fluctuate the spirit and magic resist numbers to try and get a fair comparison in terms of the damage for these builds. So for Ibara, if I were to do Wailing Storm against somebody who has the 20 and the 70 faith, 0 spirit, critting for 8542. And if I do it for Helena's bread and butter attack, so this is either the stop and courage removal or the guaranteed AoE hit. They're both the same damage modifier, so they do the same amount of damage. That does 7492. So Ibara has the upper hand in damage by about 1,000 in terms of this situation here. Now, what I want to do here is add some spirit. So let's go ahead and add 30 spirit to both of these targets. You're going to see the damage skews even more in Ibara's favor if we give them like a really high spirit amount. So like something like 80. Realistically, nobody's probably going to hit 100 spirit. But 80 spirit, Ibara has more and more of an advantage the higher spirit you go, obviously, because she has more spirit pen. That being said, this move is still hitting for 5k, even with somebody with 80 spirit. So I don't think the damage is bad at all in terms of for Helena, especially because this is something that has a chance to stop and removes courage. So definitely not bad at all. And let's go ahead and give them their main buffs. So what the buffs are: for Helena, she essentially gains 40% attack and magic, 50 damage type modifier from her TP ability. So still going at 80 spirit, she'd be dealing 6,300. And if you come down to somebody like, let's say like 20 spirit, that's pretty normal. 8556 crit, so quite a bit of damage here. Now, if we go to Ibara and give her her main buff here, what we're going to do is we're going to give her 25 human killer. We are going to give her 40 damage type penetration because it's going to be magic attack type damage. And we're going to give 25 damage type modifier. She's going to be dealing 9160. So as you can see with the two buffs against, oh, I'm sorry, this was 80 spirit. 9757. So you can see with these two buffs here, the damage is staying fairly consistent in terms of how far apart they are, about 1200, 1000, something like that. You know, if I were to increase this down to 0 spirit, it would be even closer in terms, it'd be 9300 for Helena and 9900 for Ibara. So with 0 spirit, Helena is hitting almost as hard as Ibara is with the Wailing Storm buff. But again, something to keep in mind is the status effect and the courage removal is something that Helena is bringing to the table that Ibara is not. So another thing that I wanted to show you guys real quick here is something like Counterman Slash, because again, if we were fighting those evasion units, there's a good chance that Ibara won't hit unless she uses Counterman Slash. So let's find out what damage that does. So in this case, she wouldn't have any damage type, and she wouldn't have damage type penetration because that only affects magic attacks, not slash. In this case, Counterman Slash would be hitting for 7971. So you can very much see against evasion units, Helen is going to hit harder than Ibara is, because a lot of evasion units don't have a lot of spirit and things like that too. Even if you pumped it up to something like 30, which is probably not going to happen realistically, you're going to see that Helena is going to do more damage to evasion. So if you're specifically looking to screw over evasion units, I think Helena's damage in general is just going to be higher. Against everybody else, Ibara's is going to be higher. But again, Helena brings some different things to the table. She just brings different stuff. She does have courage, Ibara does not. Helena does bring the chance to stop, courage removal, and her limit break is an AoE compared to Ibara's, which is single target. Obviously, Ibara has an advantage because she does more damage, she has better height ranges on her abilities, and I just think they're different units. So I think they could work extremely well together on a team, and I just kind of wanted to give you a little damage calculation showcase for you guys. So one thing that I want to do before I wrap up my entire thoughts on the character is I wanted to show you the new Dark Ramuh Esper and Vision card. In terms of the Esper, he has kind of generic 10% water mitigation resistances, -10 to earth. He has 20 agility, which is nuts. This is tied for the highest in the game, and his skill tree is absolutely bonkers. There's 25 lightning lightning attack here, 25 magic attack, 25, or I'm sorry, not 25 magic attack, 15 magic attack, 25 human killer, 15 earth resist, and 25 slash resist, including some crit rate. So you have so many good options on this Esper. If you are somebody who's thinking about Helena, you might not even want to pull Helena. You might just want to go for Dark Ramuh. This Esper is absolutely nuts. And to continue this further on, it's very possible that if Helena comes out soon on global, she could have a global buff to the Dark Ramuh vision card, but as it stands, 10% missile resist, 20 spirit pen for the person holding it, and decrease evasion rate, but you don't really care about the evasion rate. The party effects, 50% magic is really nice, 10% slash resist is a nice little boost as well, and 15 earth resist is super helpful, and honestly might be the difference in between lightning beating earth comps right now, because it is a very close fight right now where some lightning comps can actually beat them, and this might be enough to give them the upper hand. As for my closing thoughts on this unit, am I going to be going for her? I'm not entirely sure. I think I'm going to put out a poll for you guys because realistically, my viz that I have in the game, I think I have enough to get 2 things out of the 4 that I want, which is Helena, Dark Ramuh, Lightning. Actually, Lightning's VC also, but I'll get that. And Orlando. I could probably only get 2. Maybe 3 if I'm lucky, but probably only 2. So I might put out a poll just to see what you guys think. I don't think she's going to be game breaking or anything. I think she's going to be really, really good. I think she's different enough from Ibara, but in terms of just straight damage, I don't think she's going to hit as hard as her, but she can be really, really useful for those people that don't like to switch their trust stones around. For Ibara, if you want to fight specifically against a comp that's not evade, your best trust stones are going to be like magic and HP and stuff like that. But if you're going against evade, you need accuracy and luck. Helena is one of those units that you never have to worry about that. You could slap the same trust stone sets on her every single time, and you're going to have a really great success with her. So that is it for my review, guys. I hope you guys got some value out of it, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a wonderful day.